Open your mouth. I want to throw up in it. Well, everybody's got a kink. You do you, you weirdos. Cold Storage was directed by Johnny Campbell, who's done television projects. Check out his IMDb page for the full list of his work. And this was written by David Coop, who's done a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot. Look at IMDb. You will see what I mean. He has been a busy little boy for the last 4-something decades. So, back in 1979, Skylab fell into the ocean, except for parts that didn't. Some ended up in the Australian outback, whatever, and then something decided to get out. So a team was brought in to contain it, put it in a lab. That lab was built over. It's turned into a storage facility, a cold storage facility, as it were, and now it is threatening to get out once again. And only 2 employees there, one played by the very gifted and incredibly gorgeous goddess that is Georgina Campbell, who plays Naomi. Not, I'm a Zane. Bring it to the, well, anyway, you get, if you don't get it, you're not a wrestling fan. She didn't proceed with caution. Naomi, I mean, not Georgina Campbell. That means that Georgina Campbell has kind of gotten all of these horror movies on lock. In fact, Psycho Killer, is coming out next week. If you don't think I'm going to try to do some variation of that for the intro, you don't know me very well. That being said, ever since bursting on the scene with Barbarian and me wondering where the fuck has she been hiding, I love me some Georgina Campbell. Really, once I saw she was in this, I didn't need to see a trailer. I didn't need to see any clips. I just needed to go see it. So the other employee, by the way, is Joe Keery, who was in Spree, that I need to revisit because I remember liking it, but maybe not loving it. He plays Travis Tea-Cake. And we find out why he's called that a little bit later on. And they're at the storage facility. They have a full-on dickish boss, but they have a thing to worry about that's a lot worse. Such as a fungus among us. A fungus that basically can overtake people and any living thing. And for whatever reason, this thing wants to get out. It's a horror comedy that basically bursts onto the goddamn scene. Bursts like stuff bursts in this goddamn movie. By no means an original concept. In fact, you could pretty much argue this beat for beat follows a lot of the silly, gross-out horror comedies, say like Evil Dead and stuff like that, maybe even a little bit of Ready or Not, Here I Come, except without the family dynamic. But as far as a film goes, it came out of absolutely nowhere. I had a great fucking time with Cold Storage. Exceeded my expectations that I really didn't have much of. I thought, well, if I haven't seen a trailer, and this just came out in limited release, even though it's like getting, it's in a few theaters in my area. I don't imagine this thing's getting released on too many screens. I actually ended up having a really good time with it. Doing large parts of the rest of the cast. We had Liam Neeson as Robert, and Liam Neeson has decided to lean more into the comedy with the recent Naked Gun movie that was far better than I thought it would be. We have Leslie Manville, who plays Trini. We have Sosie Bacon, who was in Smile. She plays Dr. Martens, not Doc Martens. We don't need some big clunky shoes. Aaron Hefferman, who plays Mike. You don't want to be like this, Mike, I'll say that much. And we also have Alora Torchia, who was the very, very, very pretty side character in Midsummer. I really actually was glad to see her in another project because she did really well in Midsummer, and I wish they'd gone a little further with her character. And Vanessa Redgrave, of all people. Yeah, I know, I'm surprised she's still alive too. So was she. So yeah, you get your horror comedy. You get some jokes that don't land. You get maybe a few parts that are a little bit too busy. They're just bringing in characters and bringing in scenarios we've all seen done time and time again. And while every joke doesn't land, enough lands. And we have enough of breezy pace to this. It's like 90 to 92 minutes before the credits start rolling. It's a whole lot of fun, so I highly recommend checking out Cold Storage while it's in theaters, or rent it when it's on streaming, no doubt in a few weeks. That being said, again, getting the spoilers, 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, yeah, the whole open your mouth, I want to throw up in it. That's a line from when Naomi's significant other, Mike, shows up after he got infected, and then he basically says he wants to throw up in it. And look, I love Georgina Campbell. I don't think I would want to do that. I don't think I'd want to do that at all. So back in the beginning, the Big Bang happened, the dinosaurs roamed the earth, a giant meteor took a thing, and then we actually get to the real beginning of this movie where there's some scrolling text, or typed out text of Skylab. Most of it hit the ocean, some of it didn't. And, pay attention. This stuff is true. It's playing on a little bit of the fun sci-fi-ish, comedy that started kind of in the 70s, mostly in the 80s. I think 80s is really where the horror comedy, sci-fi comedy really started to sprinkle back up. And we go about 18 years ago, Australian outback village, whatever the fuck. It did not look like it was a fun place to live. I've never been to Australia. But there is this capsule that has this weird fungus that developed up in space, because basically capsules were sent up there and it turns out that certain things were brought back down. Kind of like Life, if Life actually was not made by a fucking sea cucumber. I hated that movie. Hated every goddamn bit of it, as well made as it was. So anyway, Dr. Martens is called. I thought Sosie Bacon was going to be in this for a while, because who doesn't love a healthy dose of bacon? I will let you determine what I mean by that. But she, along with Liam Neeson and Leslie, go and, well, they end up having an encounter with this fungus that, even if a little bit gets on your clothing, like if it gets on your shoes, it can eat through you. Like somehow, whatever. Well, it ends up getting on a little bit of Dr. Martin's shoes, because I guess Doc Martens don't really work all that good. She notices that there's some bodies up on all these roofs. They're all burst through, kind of like they're the weird undead scientists that burst shit out at you in Metal Slug 2. I think that was I think the second one had the undead. It was either 2 or 3. Nevertheless, she ends up finally, she goes through all this stuff where, it'll get in your head. It'll be like, getting like, just making you do things, making you go to higher ground, whatever. It'll make you cause it to spread one way or another. Well, then she realizes it starts to get into her as she's put a sample in this cryogenic little deal there. She starts freaking out. Trini tries to stop her, but, this thing wants to fight to survive. Liam Neeson's back goes out. Then again, he is about 2 million years old, so that makes sense. And Dr. Martin does the only thing that she can do and just blows herself away with a gun. By the way, they're in hazmat suit things, but that's the end of that. I was like, oh, Sosie Bacon didn't make it nearly as long as I thought. And then we go with the Beach Boy, round, get around, I get around, yeah, as they're transporting the thing to this secret underground lab that's in Kansas. Well, that's why everything was so depressing. They're in fucking Kansas. Sorry to the 5 people in Kansas that have internet and know what the fuck internet is. I'm sorry. In all seriousness, Kansas, the Jayhawks, the basketball team, the Jayhawks are good. And also, Kansas used to be a thriving wrestling territory. Nevertheless, this facility, they have it locked up. It's all cryogenically sealed, hermetically sealed. It left in a jar on Funkin' Wagner's porch since noon today. Nobody can divine the answers except the great Karnak. But in all seriousness, after a number of years and being overbuilt, as this is now a storage facility, we focus on Tea-Cake, played by Joe Keery, who has a full-on dickish boss named Richie, and then Naomi shows up. She is the new, she's the new hire. It turns out she also has a kid. She also has a baby's daddy named Mike that is very much a mama's boy. I gotta say, by the way, Aaron Hefferman plays him perfectly in this, even though we don't know a lot about him beyond Naomi's description. And Vanessa Redgrave shows up to sit in a storage facility that her late husband had, and with all their effects, and looked like she was going to blow herself away. But then there's this weird beeping that is behind this wall, and it turns out that this wall, where the men can see it all, so I don't know why the fuck I decided to say that. It's plastered over, but it's the lab. And they see this map, And it would put them down a big old, garbage chute-like ladder to find out where this alarm's happening. And basically, climate change, all this stuff, it has basically fucked up the whole goddamn planet. Meanwhile, Robert is not doing all that well, but he thought the stuff was buried, and it turned out it wasn't. He must make contact with Abigail. That's the code name, by the way, that's played by Alora. I do have to say, I did like how her character was given at least enough of a chance to be both funny and a little bit serious. This movie knows when to be serious with its premise just enough so it doesn't seem like it's slapping you in the face, but it also understands that it's not meant to be taken way too fucking seriously because it's dripping with charm and atmosphere from the word go. Again, not everything works. Joe Keery is intentionally over the top with his constant talking. Naomi and him obviously do have a bit of an understanding as far as, information that they share. She has a daughter. He's on parole and had some issues that led to him only getting this job because they took a chance on him. Also, Richie is being the full-on dickish boss is because he's been storing some curved 70-inch TVs that he wants to help pawn off, I guess. But Vanessa Redgrave, by the way, is completely forgotten about, but she is in this facility this whole entire time. And basically, the question is how did this stuff get out? First, we have Mike, who shows up, and he's worried about something that's in the goddamn trunk. It turns out it was a neighbor's cat that he shot for whatever reason. I had to come home and hug my cat because of that. I mean, they didn't show him doing it, and it is played for comedy, and the cat does end up getting loose, and, basically throws up some stuff that ends up also getting on the deer nearby, and also gets on Mike. I do have to say, pretty much the only issue I have with this movie is the super dodgy CGI. I mean, good grief, there were PS2 games I saw that looked better than this. But nevertheless, I can overlook that because it probably didn't have a ton of money. I mean, Liam Neeson probably didn't come cheap. At his age, probably doesn't come at all. You're welcome. You're fucking welcome for that, because just run a black light over that joke. Ha ha. Because we'll have memories that live on with this as we are taken elsewhere. Enough sub-referencing. Let's get back to this whole thing. We see that the cat ends up going up and impaling itself on the goddamn, little tower, like antenna or whatever the fuck it is, in a humorous moment. I mean, it's the CGI cat. It is what it is. But now Mike's infected. And Mike is bound and determined to get to Naomi. And also the deer go with him, because the deer are also infected. And what do they say when they get back where they are and infect others? I'm home, dear. Hold for applause, even though everybody probably shut off the review well before now. Meanwhile, Naomi and Travis are looking through stuff. They do end up going down the garbage chute like ladder. I mean, it's not a garbage chute, but it's like a giant, it's a giant shaft, as it were. Yeah, you're welcome for that motion. They end up seeing that, well, the alarm's coming from this place, and oh, look, whatever this is taking over, and there's this, pile of rats that's, all getting together. It's like the Rat King thing. Like Splinter got created by a goo. Pretty much the only other thing that I do wonder about this is every time stuff explodes, it never gets anywhere near Naomi and Travis. It doesn't give Vanessa Redgrave. She's seemingly fine. I do question why Vanessa Redgrave is in this, but it's alright, whatever. She's probably just having fun. I mean, her being about, 2,000 years old, it's probably just fine that she's getting to enjoy herself. And, yeah, Mike shows up and basically says, open your mouth, I want to throw up in it. And I don't know why that's funny. It just is. And the movie's just played for laughs. Robert also had a very bad back because he ended up hurting his back during the opening sequence. That is something that comes back into play later. Robert is trying to get Abigail to get him information. Robert Blake is in this, by the way. Yeah. Yeah, recently from the Strangers trilogy, the Unnecessary Strangers trilogy, and Barbarian. So once again, Georgina Campbell and Richard Blake tying it back to Barbarian. It's all in the same universe, folks. And after it seems like Mike is going to just be outside their storage facility forever, Richie shows up with his band of Merry Misfits. I did like the dark-haired one with the bowl cut. I did like her. Hope she's doing all right. And they're going to take these TVs Well, Robert gets to Trini. Trini helps him get a giant backpack bomb that's basically, it's not a suitcase bomb because no, there's no such thing. It's just, it's literally a backpack bomb. It's literally what it is. And it's like some old nuke that they're going to use to level the whole goddamn thing and stop this entire thing going on. So, Naomi also has never fired a gun. She gets a chance to fire a gun a little bit later on. Mike kind of goes a little bit nuts and ends up actually puking on 3 of the cronies. And they end up trying to infect others. Richie does get hilariously killed. And basically, Vanessa Redgrave takes off very slowly, I might add. It's down to Naomi and Travis. Robert has kept in contact with Naomi. Abigail's been keeping in contact, do all this stuff, and the idea, the timer on the nuke is going to go at some point. They have just a number of minutes to get down there and get it planted as close to the blast zone, shall we say, where they could take out the entire little deal. And that's it. By the way, a deer explodes at one point in very hilarious fashion. But Liam Neeson basically is going to take other people out. He ends up taking some of the bikes out and other vehicles out. And as he's shooting at this one teacher guy that gets out while Abigail is looking with infrared stuff. Meanwhile, Richard Blake, who is the general and you would think would be aware she's using all this government stuff, is not aware of any of this. He ends up basically looking like a complete douchebag, but then again, Richard Blake is very good at looking like, apparently a very nice guy from interviews. He's just good at playing a villain. But unfortunately, Robert's back ends up going out, so now he's like a fucking turtle. He can't get up. Mike has been hilariously killed, and the way this got out, by the way, actually the best scene, despite the dodgy CGI, some of the stuff started to leak out years before, and a roach got to it, and then a roach crawled, and then the rat tried to get the roach bit the rat, and then that's how the Rat King stuff started, and then it crawls up there, and then gets squished, gets on the car, which was Mike's car, got into the hood, or got into the trunk rather, infected the cat, which infected the deer, which infected Mike, which, met the mat to chase the cat, around with his tail. I mean, I don't actually think that's how that works, but nevertheless. Then from with no legs ran across the room. So the idea is now they must place this bomb down there, and oh no, the timer has started, but it's a faulty timer. So sometimes it can show 7 minutes, and other times it can flash to like 12 minutes. So whatever, it's hilarious. They're crawling back up, and they're trying to get out. Now, Richie does end up getting killed when Trini shows back up, and then she ends up getting Robert. Oh yeah, your back's fine. And by the way, Naomi and Travis Tea Cake are not very happy. Tea Cake, by the way, from like some kind of like Little Debbie like thing or whatever the fuck it was. That's how he got the name. They end up taking off, and boom, the friggin' nukes is level and everything. It's Kansas. Who the fuck cares? Nobody's gonna miss it. Sorry, Kansas. But anyway, that happens, and they manage to escape. Robert and Trini seemingly are fine. Trini seemingly is fine. We actually don't really get to see much of her. Robert is in the hospital. Abigail visits him. I forget what she said her name actually was. I feel bad for that. But it turns out also that Richard Blake's character is going to be court-martialed for impersonating a human, despite the fact he is a science room skeleton. I'm sorry to all Richard Blake fans out there, all 8 of you. And she is talking to him. It seems almost like a father-daughter-like thing, but then again, given the fact that Liam Neeson has dated women younger than him, God forbid, I hope he doesn't leave Pam Anderson for her. So anyway, then we also see that Naomi has a 6-year-old kid. Travis is now he's the dad who stepped up. I forgot how the rest of that went, but everything's fine. They're enjoying themselves. And then suddenly we smash cut to nature. It's like that Deer Hunter arcade game. And the deer vomits in front of us, into our faces. And that's it. That is cold storage, ladies and gentlemen. with a lot more fun than I anticipated. It's not perfect, dodgy CGI, a few jokes and no hit, and a few awkward moments, but overall, considering that I believe this is Johnny Campbell's feature debut, and if not, it's probably his most prominent feature film, A-. I had a very fun time with this. I encourage you guys to go check it out. Please do. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Retland, and until we revisit A Fungus Among Us again, happy trails to you.